continue our discussion about financial statement analysis, discussion on annual reports, and we now move to the next section of the annual reports, which is essentially the financial highlights. Right now, when we look at the financial highlights section, this outlines basically the performance of the company over the last few years. So performance over the last few years. Now, some companies may choose to give 5 years, some may choose to give 10 years. That depends from company to company. But ideally, you get a sense of what is the performance, how has the company moved over the years, both in terms of financial performance, and not only do they give values of sales and other stuff, they also give volume data, which is how many, let's say, vehicles a company has sold. So that becomes an important yardstick in understanding how the performance of the company has been over these years, right? Let's go back to our report on Eicher Motors, and we try and gauge looking at that report in terms of how the performance has been over the years and what kind of data do they give to us. So here we are on the report of Eicher Motors. The next part just after the letter to shareholders is the performance over the years, and as we go ahead, it first gives what is called as financial position at a glance, right? So essentially what the company has done approximately over the last 8 to 9 years is what is available as data. This is financial position. If you look at the data carefully, this will talk about fixed assets, net fixed assets, investments, debtors, cash balances, everything that's financial in nature, right? So that data is available here. Then the company talks about operational highlights after that, where it gives data on sales volume, commercial vehicle numbers sold. So we see about 40,000 vehicles sold in 2014, and two-wheelers is about 3 lakh vehicles sold in 2014, right? When you compare this to 2010, almost 39,000 sold in commercial vehicles, so there hasn't been any kind of significant growth in commercial vehicles. In fact, they were selling 49,000 and 48,000 in 2011 and 12. So practically from this number they have fallen, which gives a scenario that commercial vehicle space is in a little bit of a problem in the country. Remember, we had read that the commercial vehicles segment is degrowing in the company, in the country, and in spite of that, the company has been able to maintain market share. So if they have been able to maintain market share and they are selling 40,000 instead of close to 50,000, then obviously the entire market has slowed down and become smaller over this period, right? The other thing we can try and find out is if you look at this, this is their total revenue of both the bike segment and the commercial vehicle segment. When you look at standalone numbers, the revenue that they discuss about is going to be only the revenue of the bike segment, right? So the difference is what the commercial vehicles segment sells. So look at this revenue, that's 9,351. Let's go ahead and we find financial highlights of Eicher Motors Limited standalone. Now in this particular case, the standalone bit is the bike business, right? And the consolidated will include bike plus commercial vehicles. So this is only the bikes business. If you look at this in detail, you will see the numbers that they have given. 52,000 bikes going up to 3 lakh bikes, the volume of sales, and the net income here, and PAT, net income being the sales that they've referred to, is 3,000 crore, right? If you remember, the total number was 9,000 crore. 9,000 minus 3,000 is the difference that has been achieved by the commercial vehicle sales, right? So that extra sales is coming from commercial vehicles, and that is what becomes important for us to understand. Let's go back to our presentation and try and make sense of some of this data. So we have the same data which we have copied and pasted here. What it says is commercial vehicle sales. So we can point out a few things here, that CV sales are declining over the years, and bike sales show significant growth, right? So bike sales show significant growth over the years, going up from something like 52,000 here to 3 lakh here, whereas CV sales go down. What it also gives a sense is CV industry, commercial vehicle industry, is seeing degrowth or negative growth. Why is that? Is because we remember, they have maintained market share, or they have reported the highest ever market share in this from our earlier discussions, right? Now, that's one part of the story. Their total sales is 9,300, right? Component sale is 380, right? Component sale is 380, and total sales is 93751. So effectively, what we are saying is that 9351 is equals to bike segment plus commercial vehicle segment plus any kind of components that come in, right? We know what the component sale is. That's about 380 crore. Do we know what the bike sales are? So if we look at the data here in terms of bike sales, the bike sales number is 3148, right? So this here can be put in as 3148. We can find out approximately what is the commercial vehicle sales number. That will work out to something like, I think, 5,700 or 5,800 crore approximately. That gives us a data of what kind of sales is available. The other interesting important information that is available with us, so we're going to calculate this as well. Approximately what's the sales number? We'll see that if that number is also available elsewhere, we'll try and gauge that number and try and arrive at that number. Now let's turn our attention to the bike segment first. Now this is 3 lakh bikes sold and 3,100 crore earned by selling those 3 lakh bikes. Can we try and find out the price per bike? Is that available? So technically we have to take this 3148 and divide by 302592 bikes, right? This is obviously in crores, so we have to convert it to rupees by multiplying with 10 raised to power 7, right? And we can do the same analysis here, which is 497 into 10 to the power 7 divided by 52,576, and we can find out whether they have been able to increase the price of the bike or not, right? Let's do this analysis. We'll quickly open a rough Excel file and try and do this analysis. So let's put in the numbers for 2014 and let's put in the number for 2010. What is the sales value? Very quickly, 3148 crores and 497 crores. And what is the volume that they have sold? Can we get the volume that they have sold? And this, remember, is for the bikes. What is the volume that they have sold? That's 302592. So we put in 302592, and earlier this was 52,576, right? Price per bike. So that's equal to my sales value converted to crores divided by the volume, right? Let's increase this size. Sales value converted to crores divided by volume, and drag it ahead, and we get the price per bike, right? Now the price per bike has actually gone up from 94,000 to 104,000, 1,04,000, which is interesting, right? Traditionally, you would suspect that a company that is raising sales would have a declining price. That's what traditional economics talks to us. But this is a company that has increased sales volume and has also increased per unit price, which is remarkable. Usually you don't find this. Common economics will tell us that if you have to increase sales volume, you can't really increase price. But if a company is able to do that, that tells you about the financial strength of the company, right? So we will note down this point in our discussions that we have already created the document. We'll add data points to that document. So we say that price per bike rises from approximately 94,000 in 2010 to 104,000 in 2014. Company sees rising per unit prices in addition to rising volumes of sales in the bike segment, right? Can we do the same analysis for the other section, which is commercial vehicle segment, right? So let's try and gauge that. We also see that the company's margins have expanded remarkably. So from something like an 8% kind of margins which are available here, the EBIT margin of the company, EBIT to sales margin, has gone up to 22%, right? So obviously the company has been able to increase prices, and this increase in prices has resulted in a significant jump in terms of what their per bike profitability has been, right? In fact, we can divide this EBIT number, which is 683 by the volume number to get the same definition of, what is operating profit per bike. That can also be calculated just like we did the calculation for our sales numbers, right? So that's the power and importance of what financial highlights can give us, and how we can calculate some of this data to understand how the company has been performing and what the company has been doing, right? Now, this extends into the next part of the report, and you do see some more data points. So for our sake, I've taken another company, Infosys, and in the financial highlights segment of Infosys, you will see that the company talks about what is the sales revenue over the years. In the last many years, what is the revenue number? So 27,000 crore rising all the way up to 53,000 crore. Net profit was 6,800 crore, that has risen to something like 12,300 odd crore. The company has added a lot of new clients. So 620 became 950, which means addition of 330 clients, right? From this information, can we find out revenue per client? That information is available here, right? So 27,500 divided by 620 and 53,000 divided by 950. That could be calculated. This is a services business, so employee oriented business, right? Can we find revenue per employee, right? So they had 1,30,000 employees here, and they have 1,76,000 employees here. This information is available, and over the years, in addition to financial ratios that we calculate, some of this information might be extremely important in telling us whether the company is improving profitability or improving efficiency or improving per unit prices, right? That's what financial highlights can give us as an information about. The next part typically follows the director's report, or what is called as the board's report, which is basically nothing but the financial performance over the last year, right? For the purpose of this, we will again go back to iShares annual report and look at data in detail. So we continue moving further, and you find director's report to the shareholders is what follows, right? Now when you look at this in detail, It basically talks about financial results of the company, what has been the sales number, what is the growth, what has been the dividend that the company has declared for the shareholders, so rupees 50 per share, what has been the company's volumes number. We have already seen this volume number, and what kind of numbers were exported and what kind of numbers were sold within the company. This, remember, is the standalone data that we just saw, and kind of move ahead. Then they talk about some of the other parts and some of the other discussions in terms of markets and future prospects. Company's motorcycle business enjoys high credibility, phenomenal growth, huge distribution network, and so on and so forth. Some other data around energy conservation and technology absorption, not very relevant for our purpose. What is relevant is that eventually after this part, they will talk about a few more things which might be interesting for us. One part of that is the company is required to change the financial year, right? The company commences its financial year on Jan 1 and ends on December 31. They are now changing the financial year, right? So they will move from this year that commenced on 1st January 2015 will be extended up to March 31, being a period of 15 months, and then subsequently every year will be April 1 to March 31, right? So that is something that is going to happen. They have ensured that that data is available. Then they have given data about unlisted subsidiaries, right? So commercial vehicle segment data is available with us. The sales number that they are saying is revenue from operations has gone up to 5758 crore, right? 5758 crore is the revenue from operations that has come from commercial vehicles. And that's interesting because if you remember, we had created this equation here, and if you see this equation, it should eventually work out to somewhere around 3100, and 400 is 3500 odd, and 9300 minus 3500 should give you somewhere close to approximately the commercial vehicle sales of 5700 odd crore, right? 5750 odd crore was the sales, and 40,000 vehicles was what they sold, right? Let's see what price comes there. 40,783. So we can do the same analysis essentially and copy and paste this data here and do this for commercial vehicles. We don't know this number as yet, so we will bring this number into picture. But sales here was 5758 and commercial vehicles sold was something around 40,000. What was the number? Let's look at the number. 4783. Right, so 4783. We find roughly 14 lakhs was the price per vehicle that was sold. Right, we can similarly put in the sales value for 2010 as well. That value can be calculated using the equation we said, but we'll probably move to that at a later stage. For this point, we just need to see that per commercial vehicle average price is 14 lakhs. So we'll put that data in. Price per CV on average is rupees 14 lakhs approximately in 2014, right? That data is available with us now, and we can put in that data as well from our director's report section, right? Let's see if they have anything else that is available in this. So finally they talk about data points and some other subsidiaries, and then they talk about who are the auditors, etc. about the company. That's the final part, which we are not really bothered at this stage. There are some more details, but we don't necessarily need to go into these details at this stage, trying to understand what the company is doing and what the company is up to at this point. But most of the other stuff that we have seen, we do have data about that. So eventually the director's report section gives us what is the performance of the company and what is the performance of the subsidiary, and we'll discuss this in the next section as to what is the company and what is the subsidiary. But primarily for Eicher Motors, this is the bike segment and this is the commercial vehicle segment. and combined you can find out details from this plus the financial highlights as to what is the price per bike and what is the price per CV, and try and identify the trends in these as well, right? That data can be derived, and this data is extremely useful for us to understand whether or not the company has been performing well, whether or not the company has been able to increase volumes and increase prices. Now, some of this data may or may not be available in all the companies' cases. Some companies give volume data, some companies may not give volume data. Whatever data is available, we'll try and make use of that data in order to kind of gain any information that might be relevant about the company. So for example, in the case of Infosys, we were looking at revenue per client and revenue per employee. They have not given a sense of are they billing more per hour, right? So every month, every hour, what is the billing rate? That is not given, right? So we may get some information, we may not get some information, but what is important is whatever information is available, can we make use of that information and implement that in our analysis that we have added from this particular part to our Word document that we're creating. As we go along, we'll add more data points to that as well, right? That's it in this particular